So this is pre-chapter A, whole numbers, and we're going to begin talking about whole numbers. So a set is a collection of numbers, and the symbol we use to express a set is the squiggly parentheses. So here you have an example of a collection of numbers. You have 17, 3, 9, 6, and 14. So this is a set. But if we want to use the correct symbol, the squiggly parentheses, we would write all the 5 numbers in order from least to highest. So you'd write 3, 6, 9, 14, 17, separate each number with commas, and the correct way to read this would be the set of 3, 6, 9, 14, and 17. So again, just when using the squiggly parentheses, just write it. The order does matter. You want to write it from smallest number to biggest number. So moving on, this chapter section 8.1 is about whole numbers. So what is a whole number? Well, think about when you first started learning math. I guess first started learning numbers. What's the simple numbers that you learned? It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth, right? Well, I guess the very first one would be 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. The set of those numbers are what we call whole numbers. So whole numbers do not include decimals or fractions, no 1.6, no 3 halves. It's just 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to infinity. So knowing that, let's talk about the number line. So here you have the number line. Again, we start with 0, 1, 2, 3, and it goes all the way. I stopped at 20, but it does go after 20. It goes 20, 21, and so on. So on the bottom right box, you have a question: graph the whole numbers from the example on the number line. So the example is referring to the very first collection numbers we had, the 3, 6, 9, 14, 17. So if you were to graph those numbers on the number line, it's really as easy as you think. Just first find 3, and then you're going to put a point at 3 on the number line. So that's it. That's you solving the problem. If you had a homework question where it said find 6 on the number line and graph it, you just find 6, and then you just put a point there. That's it. If it's 9, you just find where 9 is on the number line, and you put a point there. 14, you just find 14, put a point there, that's it. Same with 17, you just put a point on top of 17, and that's you solving the problem on your homework. All right, moving on. So now we're talking about comparing whole numbers. So when we compare whole numbers, when we compare 2 numbers, we use one of these 3 symbols. So the left one is the equal to symbol, the middle symbol is the less than symbol, and the right symbol is the greater than symbol. So knowing that, let's try this problem. So use one of the above to make the statement true. So in the first row, we have 3 and 8. Would you say 3 is equal to 8, 3 is less than 8, or 3 is greater than 8? You would say 3 is less than 8, right? Because 3 is smaller than 8. So the less than symbol is the middle symbol, so you would write that between 3 and 8. And that says 3 is less than 8. All right, now the next one. In the middle row, we have 6 and 2. So which symbol would you plug in between 6 and 2? Again, just think about it. Would you say 6 is equal to 2, 6 is greater than 2, or 6 is greater than 2? Obviously, 6 is more than 2, so you would say 6 is greater than 2. And the greater than symbol is the one on the right. So you would plug in that symbol between 6 and 2. And again, that just reads as 6 is greater than 2. Last one, you have 9 and 9. So what would you say? Would you say 9 is equal to 9, 9 is less than 9, 9 is greater than 9, and that's a no-brainer? You would say 9 is the same as 9, so you would write the equal to symbol. 9 is equal to 9. So some students do become confused with the less than and greater than symbol. It's just 2 parallel lines, but the less than and greater than, they're just mirror images of each other. So a tip is, if you become confused with the symbols, just remember the hungry alligator wants to eat the bigger number. So if you look really hard, maybe squint, you can see that the less than symbol looks like an alligator looking to the right, and the greater than symbol looks like an alligator looking to the left. Do you see it? No? What about now? So, again, the less than symbol is, you can probably see better now that the alligator is looking to the right, and the greater than symbol, the alligator is looking to the left. So, with the first example that we did, the 3 is less than 8. You see that the alligator is looking towards the 8 because it's more bigger than 3. And then with the 6 is greater than 2, the alligator is looking towards the 6 because 6 is more than 2. Just a tip. I've also heard students say that they can remember that the less than symbol looks like an L shape. So that's how they remember that the middle one is the, and then the other one is the other one, the greater than symbol. Okay. So now we're on the next slide. We're talking about place values and rounding. So each digit of a number can be labeled with a place value. So you have a problem. For the number 496271830, you have 3 things that it's asking you to do. The first one, it's asking you to label the place value for each digit. The second question is asking you to express the number in expanded form. And the third question is asking you to express the number in words. All right, so let's first start with the first one. So label the place value for each digit. What does it mean? So think of a table. Okay, so each white column is going to represent a place value, but what do we call those place values? Well, first let's just think about 1. That's just 1, so we call that column on top of 1 the ones place. With an S, 1S, ones place. All right, now let's think about, okay, what if it's 1, 0? What's 1, 0? That's 10, right? So the column on top of the 1 of 10 is called the tens place. And if you go one more, so 1, 0, 0, you will read that 100. So the place value on top of the 1 is the hundreds place. All right, let's go another one more. So now you have 1 with 3 zeros. What do you read that as? That's 1,000, right? So the place value on top of the 1 would be thousands with an S. Okay, now let's skip the next 2. Let's go to this number now. So you have 1 with 6 zeros after that. You know what that's called? It's 1 million. So the place value on top of the 1 would be read as millions. Okay, now again, let's skip the next 2. Let's go with this one. What's 1 with 9 zeros called? 1 billion? Yep, that's correct. It's 1 billion. So the place value on top of the 1 would be the billions place. And then after billions, if you skip another 2, you get the trillions and so on and so forth, but you don't really need to know that much, but this is good enough. Okay, so now you see after the ones place, it's tens, right? It's the same pattern for each step when you go for the thousands, millions, and billions. So if we're talking about after the thousands, we call it 10,000s. After the millions, it's 10 millions. And after billions, it's 10 billions. You see the pattern is just 10 thousands, 10 millions, 10 billions. And then same thing, after tens, we say hundreds. So what do you think we say after 10,000s? 100,000s. And then after 10 millions, we say 100 millions. And then after 10 billions, we say 100 billions. So this is basically what the place value of each digit is called. The smallest is the ones, and it goes tens, hundreds, thousands, all the way to the left. So if you know that, all you have to do is just now you plug in the number, the 496271830 into the place value table, and then that's pretty much you answering question 1. Question 1 says to label the place value for each digit. We just did that. The number on the far right, the 5 is in the ones place value. The 0 is in the tens place, the 3 is in the hundreds place, 8 is in the thousands place, and so on and so forth. Okay, now the second question, again, is to express the number in expanded form. So what is expanded form? Well, if you label the place value like we just did, then it's you pretty much answer the problem. It's just now you just got to put a plus symbol. So what do I mean by that? Well, okay, let's start with the number on the farthest left. So 4. It's not just 4, it's 4 billions, right? So you would write 4 billion, so 4 with 9 zeros because billions have 9 zeros. So 4 9 zeros plus, what's the next number after 4? It's 9. So you're going to write 900 million plus, you're going to write the next number 610 million or 60 million plus 2 million plus 700,000 plus 10,000 plus 8,000 plus 300, and then 0, 10, or you could just say 0 plus 5. So if you want to see that written, here it is. So in expanded form, you have 4 with the 9 zeros that I just said, plus 900 million, plus 60 million, plus 2 million, all the way plus 300, plus 0, plus 5. So this is how you would write something in expanded form. You just need to write just the first digit of each place value followed by its place value expressed with the number of zeros, and then just separate each with the addition symbol. So that's expanded form. Now the last question, express the number in words. So when I introduced this number to you, I just said it as 49627183005, but obviously we don't say it like that. There is a correct way of saying it, and if you know the place values, you should be able to express it in words. So what you want to do is you look 3 numbers at a time that are separated by the commas. So what I mean by that is, okay, you have 4 on the far left, right? And then there's no numbers to the left of 4, so it's just 4. So it's 4 billion. Then you look to the next 3 numbers, that's 962. Those are in the millions, so you say 4,962,000,000. Then you look at the next 3 numbers, 718, but that's in the thousands place, so it's 718,000. And then the last 3 numbers, you just say just how you would read it, 305, so 305. So express the number in words. There it is. It's 4,962,718,305. So that's how it is in words. All right. Now let's talk about rounding. So whole numbers can be rounded to particular place values, and there are steps for rounding, but rather than me just reading to you what the steps are, let's first do an example and then find out what the steps are. So here you have a problem, round 248,472 to the nearest 10,000ths place. How do you do that? Well, the first step is to write it out, 248,472. You want to identify the place value that is to be rounded. So what is the place value to be rounded? It's 10,000ths. How do I know that? Because it's in the 10,000ths. So what number is in the 10,000ths place? Well, if you look at the number, you have the ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000ths place. So the number in the 10,000ths place value is 4. So now that you know that, you go to step 2. So first what you're going to do is you're going to look at the digit directly to the right of 4. So again, we found 4 to be the number in the 10,000ths place. So ask yourself what number is to the directly right of that, right? So once you find out what the number directly to the right is, you're going to have 2 choices. Choice A is if the digit is 5 or larger, you're going to round the number in red, the number that you first identified, up 1 value. In other words, just add 1 to it. However, if it's 4 or lower, then you're going to do choice B. So choice B says if this digit is 4 or lower, you're just going to leave that number you identified the same. You're not going to add it. You're not going to subtract it. Just keep it the way it is. So the number to the right, again, is 8. It's in green. And then ask yourself, is 8 5 or larger or 4 or lower? You would say 5 or larger. So you would pick choice A. Now, because you pick choice A, what do? You round the number in red, the number you first identified, up 1 value. So if you add 1 to 4, you get 5. So 4 becomes 5, and then you just have one more step, which is to change all digits to the right of the number you identified to 0. So you're going to change the 8 to 0, you're going to change the 4, 7 to everything to 0. And that's your answer. So 248,472 rounded to the nearest 10,000ths place is 250,000. 2, 5, and then 4 zeros after that. Okay, so that's problem 1. Now let's try round 5,349 to the nearest hundreds place. So again, the first step is to identify the place value that is to be rounded. Is it the ones place, tens place, hundreds place? What is it? Well, if you look at the problem, it says hundreds place, so the place value is in the hundreds place, and what number is that? Well, the ones, tens, hundreds is in the 3, so 3 is in the hundreds place. And now what you're going to do is you're going to look to the number directly to the right of 3, which is not 5, but 4. And then ask yourself, is 4 5 or larger or 4 or lower? So do you pick choice A or choice B in the red box? You would pick choice B. It's 4 is 4. So what you're going to do is you're going to leave 3 the way it is. You don't add 1 to 3. You don't subtract 1 from 3. You just keep it the way it is. And then you're going to do step 3, which is to change all digits to the right of the number in red to 0. So the 4 becomes a 0, the 9 becomes a 0, and your answer, 5,349 rounded to nearest hundreds place would be 5,300, 5300, and that's it. All right, so now let's just finish 8.1 with some rounding practice. So here's just some examples you can try out. The first one, round 167,832,495 to the 10 millions place. So you have the number. Again, first you need to know what place value that's to be rounded, and they tell you what it is. It's 10 millions. So the number that's in the 10 millions place would be the 6. So you know where the place value is. Now you look to the number to the right of that, which is 7. Now you ask yourself, is 7 5 or larger or 4 or lower? And you would say 5 or larger. So you would round the 6, not the 7, the 6 up one value. So 6 plus 1 gives you 7. So 6 becomes a 7, and everything else after that, all of the numbers become a 0. So the answer would be 170 million. All right, moving on. So now we have 4,980. You want to round that to the hundreds place. So again, you just want to identify the place value to be rounded. That's going to be not the 0, not the 8, but the 9. The 9 is in the hundreds place. Now you look to the number directly to the right of that, which is the 8. And then ask yourself, is 8 5 or larger or 4 or lower? 8 is 5 or larger. So that means that the 9 is rounded up one value. So 9 plus 1 gives you 10. You don't really write 10. What you do is you write a 0 in place of the 9, and you carry the 1, and 4 plus 1 gives you 5. So you have 5080, but then don't forget the last step. Every number after the number in red becomes 0, so it becomes 50, and then everything else 0. So 5,000. 5,000 is the rounded value of 4,980 to the hundreds place. All right, question 3. You have 99,999. Round that to the hundreds place. So first off, what number is in the hundreds place? You would say 9, but which 9? It's the middle 9. The middle 9 is in the hundreds place. So if you know that, next what you do, it's the same step over again. You just look to the number to the right, which is the second 9 from the left, or I'm sorry, from the right. And now what you're going to do is ask yourself, is the number 9, the one in green, 5 or larger or 4 or lower? And you would say 5 or larger. So the 9 in red would go up one value. That becomes a 10. And just like with number 2, you carry the 1, You add 1 to the next number, so 9 plus 1 gives you 10, and then again you gotta add it again, and you would get 100,099, but that's not your answer because again you need to keep going. You need to turn all other numbers after the red number to zeros, so you get 100,000. Alright, so the answer is 100,000 if you round 99,999 to the hundreds place. And last problem, so round 250 to the tens place. Again, I've said this before, you first identify the place value that is to be rounded, so that's going to be the tens place, and the tens place is going to be the number 5. Now you look to the right of 5, which is 0, and that's it. That's the answer, it's 250. Did I skip a step? Not really, because again, you got to ask yourself, 0, is that 5 or larger or 4 or lower? It's 4 or lower, right? So that means that the 5 stays the same. It doesn't go up 1, you never subtract 1, it just stays the same. So 5 is just 5, and then you got to change everything to the right of that 0. But 0 is already 0, so that's it. It's just 250. You didn't have to change anything. So 250 rounded to the tens place would just be 250. So just be careful. Sometimes you may have a problem where they ask you to round, but even after you round, it's just the same number. It can happen, so don't be tricked by that. So that finishes 8.1. Now we're moving on to 8.2.